Want to run powerful AI automation workflows without paying API fees or exposing your data? Today, in this video, we are running n8n and LLMs entirely locally using Docker. As we are going to use Docker, make sure that you have Docker Desktop installed. We'll be running everything in containers and also using the Docker model runner to run the large language models. So the very first step in doing that is to create a Docker volume. So what I have done is I have listed all the commands that is needed on the video description below. You can copy and paste them when you are going to use that. The very first step is to create a Docker volume. So this ensures that whatever the activities that we are doing, the workflows that we are creating, or the credentials, everything will be saved in that volume, and even the container get restarted will be able to access that data and the workflows. The next command is to create the container instance. For that, make sure that you give the right time zone and everything so that when you're troubleshooting, you'll be able to get the right results. The code block that I have given will be pulling the image if in case the image is not available. It will download the latest image from the Docker repository and will be able to create the container instance for the n8n. Once the image pulls, you will see the n8n container running on port 5678. The very first step that we will be doing is to set up an account because you are logging in for the first time. Make sure to remember the password so that you will be able to access the n8n instance in case a restart happens. There is an option where you can generate a specific free license which will enable some additional features, but for this demo I'm going to skip that. And then the next step is to create a simple chatbot. For that, what we will do is we will use the chat trigger node where we will be able to interact with the large language model using prompts. And then for that I will connect an AI agent node where we can specify the large language model, we can give a memory tool and all of those things. For the chat model, what we will do is we will use the OpenAI chat model. OpenAI chat model enables us to communicate with the Docker model runner using similar type of APIs. So now before we set up the OpenAI chat model, let's go back to the Docker desktop. In here under the Docker Hub, you will be able to download the models that is required. As you can see, I have already downloaded a couple of models on my Docker desktop application. Based on your GPU RAM, you can select the specific models and you can download. Finally, make sure that you have enabled these configurations, the listening port and everything, so that we will be able to communicate with the Docker model runner. Now, for the n8n to communicate with the Docker model runner, we have to use a specific API. Since n8n is also running as a container, make sure that we use the specific URL that is designed to communicate with Docker model runner from containers. So if you're going to use Postman or a different tool, the URL that you will be using will be slightly different. For the chat trigger node, we can give a name, and for the API key, you don't have to specify anything. You can give any value, doesn't matter. And then for the base URL, put the right URL since we are going to call the model runner from the container. And then at the custom headers, we have a custom header called content type, and then we have to give the value as application JSON. Once we have done that, then we will be able to test a communication with the Docker model runner. Okay, now let's go ahead and save this node. We can see the test is successful. Now from the list, we will be able to see the two models that we have already downloaded. We can select the model that we want, and then we can go ahead and start a test. What we'll do is we'll send a prompt called hello. There is a error in the model. So there is this new trigger that was added in n8n. What we will do is let's go ahead and disable that trigger, use response API, and then we will run the prompt again. Let's go back to our Docker model runner where we will be able to see the inference happening, and then we'll be able to also view the details in terms of what was the exact prompt that came in, what was the content size in terms of tokens, what was the duration. You can see the entire request here, and then you can see the response that was sent by the Docker model runner. So that's it. You have a completely local AI agent running using a local LLM. You can see the response that came to n8n. That's it. Thank you.